Beep, 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 beep. Evening. How are we all? Right. Good evening, good people. What do we have here? Well, we've got a lovely article here. A lovely article from the marvellous Joe Bartosh. So we're going to go through that one because I think it's important. We need to talk about Eddie Izzard. Le singe est dans l'arbre. The monkey's in the tree. Do you remember when he used to be really funny and really clever and really provocative and really different and didn't think he was, the next best thing on two legs? That skirt he was wearing, I think it was Sheffield. Oh no, it's not Sheffield now, is it? He's fallen in love with Brighton. I'm going to move you forward a bit. See, look, I can do that. Right. He's fallen in love with Brighton. Do you know what's going on? I love Brighton. It was Sheffield, wasn't it, last week? What's wrong with this man? Anyway, Joe's got something to say about it, which is quite good. So let's see what Joe has to say. Eddie Izzard has thrown his trademarked pink beret into the political ring again. Again, right? Honest to God. On Friday, the trans-identifying comedian announced his intention to stand as a prospective parliamentary candidate for the Labour Party in Brighton Pavilion. This follows his failure to be selected for Sheffield Central last year. I thought it was Sheffield. It seems Izzard is so keen to represent Brighton that he has put himself forward even before the formal selection process has started. If he becomes the Labour candidate, he would be vying for a seat that's been held by the Green Party's only MP, Caroline Lucas. That's a dust eater. Caroline Lucas since 2010. Lucas is stepping down at the next general election. That'll be interesting, won't it? So why does Izzard think he's best suited to represent Brighton? In a campaign speech last week, he said that he is the latest in over 200 years of Izzards in East Sussex. What's there, 3 people in it? There's not very many, is it? 200 years? 70. It's only 3 people. What's he talking about? Right? He is the latest in over 200 years of Izzards in East Sussex. So his grandmother moved to Sussex and now he's been there 200 years. Right, okay. And is proud of his roots in the area. Didn't he say the same thing about Sheffield? Tellingly, he claimed he had a similar strong connection to Sheffield, having studied at university there. Right. During last year's selection process, he explained that he wanted to support the city that supported me. It sounds as if his geographical roots are as fluid as his gender identity. Well said, Joe. Eddie Izzard. Most of the time in his short skirts, I've heard. Right, okay. Should Izzard succeed in becoming Labour's candidate, this will launch a grenade into Labour HQ, reigniting a fractious debate over trans issues that leader Keir Starmer has tried desperately to put to bed. Last year, Rosie Duffield, the Labour MP for Canterbury, said that she would rather be arrested than refer to Izzard as a woman. I'm with Rosie. I don't know about you, but I'm with Rosie. In response, Izzard said, she has got to join the 21st century. She's got to catch up with the rest of us. The vast majority of the world is now moving forwards. What? All right, Izzard, since when is recognising cocks and frocks as women the world moving forward? Honestly, is it? Really? I can't tell. Come on, give us a clue. Is it moving forward? Moving backwards. So bloody patronising and regressive. Since then, the Labour Party itself has moved forward on the trans debate. Yeah, but not much, Joe. Come on. Just not towards Izzard's position. 2 weeks ago, Starmer tacitly acknowledged that Duffield and other gender-critical feminists were right all along. He stated that a woman is an adult female and ruled out gender self-identification under a Labour government. Having finally found the backbone to offend the gender ideologues with the truth, Starmer must have thought he'd be able to move on from the trans issue. Can you imagine that? Oh, said it, right? So we can move on now, it's over. He obviously hasn't been around a long time, has he? Right, come on, Starmer. It don't work like that, mate, as you're going to find out, I think. But now, thanks to Izzard's politically ambitious, the womanly willy question will surely resurface to dog the Labour Party. This is because Izzard is no longer the transvestite he described himself at the start of his career. Where he might once have cracked jokes about being a lesbian trapped in a man's body, he is now a deadly serious, full-on trans campaigner, or as I call them, Fruit Loop. Fruit Loop! who identifies as a gender-fluid trans woman. Go away, Eddie. In December 2020, Izzard announced he wanted to be based in girl mode from now on, and he was recently started using the name Susie alongside Eddie. Essentially, Izzard has transitioned from a carefree, cross-dressing comedian to a scolding trans martyr. Rather than joke about his peccadillos, is that a relative of the armadillo, a peccadillo? His peccadillos, nowadays he tries to co-opt the pain of others to present himself as put-upon victim. In 2016, he gave an interview to the BBC from a nail salon in South Africa. That's a long way to go to give an interview, or to have your nails done, quite frankly. Which he ended by quoting Nelson Mandela. Did Nelson Mandela have his nails done? As he spoke about the importance of having his nails done to his trans identity, he turned to graver matters. I've got boy genetics and I've got girl genetics. We get obsessed by it in humanity. In Uganda, they were trying to sentence people to death for this. Were they? Of course, as is well known, the Ugandan state sentences people to death for being gay, which Izzard is not. I fancy women, he explained in that same interview. There are many genuine victims of Uganda's foul homophobic laws. Not one of them is a straight British bloke with a penchant for skirts and nail varnish. Well said, Joe. It is clear that Izzard now sees himself as a victim in all circumstances, even when he is clearly in the wrong. In his book, Believe Me, a memoir of love, death and jazz chickens, I don't think that young man's operation went very well either, did it, jazz chicken? He recalls going into Ladies' Loo and encountering 3 teenage girls. The girls shouted at him, "Hey mate, hey mister, why are you dressed as a woman?" He says that he confronted and shouted at his teenage inquisitors, at which point they screamed and ran off. That's a grown man frightening 13-year-old girls in toilets. Welcome to Labour Party. Hey, Eddie? Bizarrely, he seems to have shared this vignette in order to portray himself as vulnerable and brave. But most of us would recognise it is the girls who are the brave ones here. They tried to set a boundary around a woman-only space, but were shouted at by a man for doing so. Although perhaps this thick-skinned lack of self-awareness makes him perfect politician material after all. The trans issue is not a trivial matter, as Izzard may soon discover should he ever become the MP for Brighton Pavilion. One of his potential constituents is a woman known as Sarah, who survived rape and childhood abuse. Last year, her request to attend women-only group therapy sessions was denied by Survivors Network, a Brighton-based charity. That's another bunch of collected lunatics there. When she complained about the presence of a man at what she believed to be a woman-only group, she was told, "We do not police gender." So we don't do safeguarding, is what that actually means. That's a euphemism, isn't it? We don't police gender is a euphemism for we don't do safeguarding. So sad. She was advised to seek support elsewhere, except there was nowhere else in Brighton. So Sarah is now reluctantly suing the service. She asked Eddie Izzard directly on social media for his views on her predicament, but he is yet to respond, I bet. Should Labour end up with another trans activist MP, this wouldn't just be a headache for Labour and Starmer. It could turn back the clock on women's rights and women's safety, just as it seemed that common sense was starting to win out. I said it before, I'll say it again, don't get complacent, folks. Even if we get legal changes through, even if we get the government to start taking this stuff down, we've got years of dealing with everybody that's been involved with it. From those that will be upset because they didn't see it, to those that will continue to be entrenched long after it's been destroyed. So please do not become complacent. On the other hand, some things are happening. So don't get, too down either. You fall into another trap then. We just have to keep going, all right? So thank you, Joe, for what is a lovely, short, sweet article about that absolute pain in the arse, Eddie Izzard, who is, I think, completely mad at this point. It's what fetishes and paraphilias do to men when they take them too far. But hey, let's keep going. I'll see you later.